us now. Marcus Carlson's here in the studio. And Marcus, European leaders locked in talks in Brussels, trying to agree how they can turn up the heat on Russia in terms of economic sanctions. What do we know so far?
Well, you're right. First of all, Laura, European Union leaders, they're talking about their response to Russia's annexation of Crimea. There are reports that they'll expand their list of individuals who are subjected to asset freezes and travel bans. It follows the decision on Monday to impose sanctions on 21 Russian and Crimean officials. European leaders are seen to be refraining from wider economic sanctions for now, but companies that do business in Russia will be watching closely when those leaders come out if they open the door to those wider sanctions.
Pressure is necessary if there is to be discussion and negotiation. And that is why economic sanctions, even if they are not decided today, need to be considered, need to be in any case prepared.
Voire de demain, ce doit être des sanctions individuelles qui doivent être prononcées. Merci.
Now, the United States has already outlined additional measures against Russia. Barack Obama spoke in Washington earlier. He said the U.S. would expand its list of individuals subjected to asset freezes and travel bans. The list now includes officials who are close to President Putin. Putin's chief of staff, Sergei Ivanov, is one of them. Now, in total, 20 names are being added to the list on top of the 11 already on it. The U.S. is also targeting Bank Russia, a lender that does business with several close allies to Putin. A senior official says it will no longer be able to do business in dollars. Obama has also authorized wider sanctions that include the energy and mining sectors. Washington isn't applying those wider sanctions just yet, but it keeps the door open. We're going to move on now. The head of the European Central Bank has hailed a deal that clears the way for the construction of a European banking union. Eurozone finance ministers and the European Parliament agreed after marathon talks on a Thursday morning on how to unwind failing banks without having to resort to major bailouts by taxpayers. There are concerns, though, that the agreement doesn't go far enough. Mark Thompson has more.
After months of negotiations, a breakthrough. The European Union has agreed a deal with national governments on how to wind up failing Eurozone banks.
I am absolutely convinced that this reform of the banking union is a revolution for the European banking sector, and it's probably the most significant reform for us, Europeans, since the creation of the euro.
The European Parliament touted the deal on a single resolution mechanism as a victory. This as governments agreed to let a rescue fund grow to 55 billion euros over the next 8 years, as opposed to 10. There was also squabbling over who would decide which troubled bank should be closed. Both parties eventually agreed on letting the ECB act as a watchdog in that role.
We need a mechanism which is properly funded, and the agreement actually improves on the pre-existing funding.
Leaders want to prevent future crises from bankrupting Eurozone member states. The SRM will be responsible for either closing down or restructuring the 130 biggest Eurozone banks should they run into trouble. But the system already has its critics. The ECB watchdog says the rescue fund is still too small and would be spent too quickly. There are also concerns that only the biggest institutions would be covered when some of the smaller and middle-sized banks can also cause damage.
Let's also talk you through some corporate news that we're watching for you. French luxury still sells like hotcakes, at least if it says Hermès on the box. The French luxury goods group has posted record profits as its sales of bags and scarves show little sign of slowing down. Hermès made 790 million euros during 2013, 7% more than during 2012. Unlike some other luxury companies, Hermès says it's not noticing a slowdown in China. And while Hermès is powering ahead, British luxury goods group Mulberry is struggling. Frenchman Bruno Guillon has stepped down as its chief executive. His 2-year tenure was marked by 3 major profit warnings. Mulberry has been trying to go more upmarket by hiking prices and improving quality, but that bet is yet to pay off financially. And the French conglomerate Bouygues is not bowing out of the race to take over the mobile network SFR. The French newspaper Le Monde is reporting that Bouygues will put in a sweetened offer for the operator. It follows last week's decision by SFR's owner Vivendi to favor a rival offer from cable company Numericable. The latter is now in exclusive talks with Vivendi. We're just going to finish up this update with a quick look at the stock markets.